My wife's Uber receipts showed the same destination every Thursday night for 6 months. She told me she was at book club. The address was a luxury apartment downtown that I'd never heard of. And when I looked up who lived there, everything made sense in the worst possible way. My name is Derek. I'm 38 years old, and I'm a financial analyst. I review transactions for a living, spot patterns, identify anomalies. Never thought I'd use those skills to uncover my own wife's affair. Her name is Lauren, and we've been married for 10 years. A decade of what I thought was a solid partnership. We met at a mutual friend's engagement party, both in our late 20s, both ready for something serious. She worked in pharmaceutical sales, traveled occasionally for conferences, made good money. We bought a house in the suburbs, talked about kids someday, lived what looked like a perfect life. About 8 months ago, Lauren started going to a book club, said some women from her gym had invited her, that it met every Thursday evening at 7. She'd leave around 6:30, come home around 11, tell me about whatever book they'd discussed. I was happy for her. She'd been saying she needed more social connections outside of work. Book clubs seemed like a healthy, normal thing. I never questioned it. Why would I? People join book clubs. It's wholesome, innocent, or so I thought. Last week, I was doing our monthly budget review. I handle our finances, pay the bills, track expenses. We use a shared credit card for everything, makes accounting easier. I was categorizing transactions when I noticed a pattern in our Uber charges. Every Thursday night, 2 rides. One at 6:30 p.m., one at around 10:45 p.m. Same pickup location, our house. But the destinations caught my eye. The first ride always went to the same address. 2847 Riverside Drive, apartment 15B. The return ride came from the same place. Every single Thursday for 26 weeks. 6 months of identical trips. I stared at those receipts, something nagging at me. If Lauren was going to book club, wouldn't the location vary? Different members hosting at their homes? But no, every Thursday, same address. Downtown high-rise building. I recognized the street name, expensive area. I pulled up Google Maps, looked at the building. Glass and steel, luxury apartments, the kind with a doorman and underground parking. Not the type of place you'd expect a casual book club to meet every single week for 6 months. I searched the address in our email accounts. Nothing. No correspondence about book club meetings, no group emails, no calendar invites. Checked Lauren's social media. No photos from book club, no mentions of the books they were supposedly reading, no tagged friends who might be members. For something she'd been doing religiously every Thursday for half a year, there was 0 digital footprint. That's when the cold feeling started spreading through my chest. I did what any analyst would do. I cross-referenced the data, checked Lauren's credit card statements for those Thursday nights. No purchases at bookstores, no coffee shop receipts near that address where you'd grab drinks after book club. Nothing, just the Uber rides there and back. Then I checked her phone bill. On Thursdays between 7 and 10:30 p.m., her phone was nearly silent. No calls, minimal texts. But every other night she was active, texting friends, scrolling social media. It was like she went dark every Thursday evening off the grid for 3 hours. I needed to know who lived at that apartment. Property records for rentals are harder to access than owned properties, but I have professional databases through work. I ran the address. The apartment was leased to a man named Valdez. The name meant nothing to me. I searched him on LinkedIn. 39 years old, worked as a regional director for a major pharmaceutical company. The same industry as Lauren. My stomach dropped. I checked his company website. There he was, professional photo, charming smile. Director of Sales, Eastern Region, Lauren's territory. I went back through Lauren's work calendar, which she shares with me so I know when she's traveling. Cross-referenced the dates with Christian's public speaking appearances and conference attendance listed on his LinkedIn. They overlapped, constantly. Dallas conference in March, they were both there. Atlanta meeting in May, both attended. Chicago training in June, same hotel listed in both their expense reports that I could see from Lauren's work emails. They'd been working together, traveling together, and I'd never thought twice about it because it was her job. Professional, normal. But Thursday nights weren't work. Thursday nights were her coming home at 11, kissing my cheek, telling me about a fictional book club, while she'd actually been at Christian's luxury apartment for 3 hours. 26 consecutive Thursdays. I did the math. 78 hours total. 78 hours of my wife in another man's apartment, while I sat at home thinking she was discussing literature with neighborhood women. The betrayal was so systematic, so carefully maintained it felt almost professional, like she'd planned every detail. I couldn't confront her without being certain. I needed proof beyond circumstantial evidence. That Thursday, I told Lauren I had to work late. Big project deadline. She seemed relieved, said her book club was discussing something she was really excited about. I watched her get ready, dress nicer than you'd expect for book club. Not obvious, just subtle effort. Good jeans, flattering top, fresh makeup. She called an Uber at 6:25. I watched the app on my phone, tracked her ride in real time to 2847 Riverside Drive. She got out. The ride ended. I waited 30 minutes, then drove downtown myself. The building was exactly as it looked online. Modern, expensive, secure entrance. I parked across the street with a clear view of the lobby. Couldn't see apartment windows from this angle, but I could see who came and went. I sat there for 2 hours, feeling pathetic and angry and desperate for this to be some misunderstanding. At 10:30, the lobby doors opened. Lauren walked out with a man, Christian Valdez, recognizable from his LinkedIn photo. They stood outside talking, standing close, too close. He touched her arm, said something that made her laugh. Then he pulled her in, kissed her. Not a friendly goodbye kiss. A real kiss. The kind that showed familiarity, intimacy, relationship. I sat in my car watching my wife kiss another man outside his apartment building and felt something break inside me that I knew would never heal. She pulled away, smiled at him, said something I couldn't hear. He went back inside. She checked her phone, ordered an Uber, waited on the sidewalk. I could have gotten out of my car, confronted her right there. But I didn't. I just watched her get in the Uber and drive away, probably heading home to tell me about the book they'd discussed. I drove home a different route, got there after her. She was in the kitchen making tea when I walked in, asked how my work went. I said fine, asked about book club. She launched into some story about a mystery novel they'd read, plot twists, and character development. The lie was so smooth, so practiced. I asked what the book was called. She paused just a fraction of a second, then gave me a title. I made a mental note to check if that book even existed. I asked who was hosting. She said someone named Jennifer, I wouldn't know her. Another lie, casual and easy. I couldn't keep pretending. I asked Lauren to sit down, said we needed to talk. She looked confused, asked if everything was okay. I pulled out my phone, showed her the Uber receipt history, showed her 26 identical trips to the same downtown address. Watched her face change from confusion to recognition to fear. She started to speak, but I cut her off. Showed her Christian Valdez's LinkedIn profile. Asked her to explain why she'd been going to his apartment every Thursday for 6 months. The excuses came immediately. They were just friends, work colleagues who'd become close. The book club was real, Christian just happened to host it. I asked why she'd never mentioned Christian before, why she'd never mentioned that book club met at a man's apartment, why there were no other book club members, no photos, no evidence of this group existing. She said I was being paranoid, that I was twisting innocent friendship into something ugly. I told her I'd seen them kiss outside his building an hour ago. Silence. Complete, devastating silence. She sat there, caught. No more excuses left. I asked how long it had been going on. She said 6 months since they'd met at a conference, that it started as emotional affair, that the physical part began when the Thursday meeting started. I asked if she loved him. She said she didn't know, that she was confused, that she never meant to hurt me. I asked if she'd been planning to leave me. She said she hadn't decided, that she was trying to figure out what she wanted. I told her the decision was made. I wanted a divorce. She started crying, begging for another chance, saying she'd end it with Christian, that we could go to counseling. I asked if she would have ended it if I hadn't caught her. She couldn't answer that. I told her to pack a bag, that she could stay with her sister, or with Christian, or wherever she wanted, but she couldn't stay here. She asked if I'd really throw away 10 years over a mistake. I said she'd thrown away 10 years over 78 hours in another man's apartment. The math didn't work out in her favor. She left that night. I sat in our house alone, looking at those Uber receipts on my laptop. 26 perfectly documented betrayals. Digital proof of how carefully she'd constructed this double life. The irony wasn't lost on me. She'd used technology to facilitate her affair, and that same technology had exposed it. Every ride tracked, every destination logged, every pattern visible to someone who knew how to look. She'd been so careful about the lies, but careless about the data trail. In my profession, we say data doesn't lie. People do. The divorce is underway. Lauren tried several more times to reconcile, but I'm done. I learned she'd been planning to leave me eventually, had been discussing it with Christian. They just hadn't settled on timing. The Thursday night arrangement was temporary, a way to maintain both relationships until she decided which one she wanted. I was the backup plan, the safe option, while she explored something more exciting. That knowledge hurt more than the affair itself. Now when I review our financial statements, I see the exact date the Uber receipts to Riverside Drive stopped. The Thursday after I caught her. 26 weeks of lies, then nothing. Clean data, clear pattern, obvious conclusion. In my work, I'm trained to spot anomalies, to identify when something doesn't match the expected pattern. I just never expected the biggest anomaly I'd find would be in my own marriage, hidden in plain sight in our shared expenses, waiting for someone to notice the pattern and ask the right questions. Data doesn't lie. But the person I trusted most did, 26 times, and thought she'd never get caught.